Air Force gas stations in the sky are aging, with replacements hamstrung and a capacity crunch looming. Over eastern interior Alaska, on a July morning, Airman First Class Tyler Hoffert stared down at the glaciated mountains near Paxson from a narrow window at the back of a military fuel plane. Lying prone on his stomach, he manipulated a pair of joysticks that looked stolen off a 90s arcade game. Each twitch and jab of his wrists guided a long, stiff hose called a boom dangling off the tail of a KC-135 Stratotanker toward an approaching F-35 fighter jet, one of the most expensive, sophisticated machines in the world. Hoffert's job was to guide the boom into a small slot at the top of the fighter so a little more than 10,000 pounds of fuel could be pumped in, like a pit crew topping off a stock car, but at more than 300 miles per hour, some 20,000 feet in the air. Aerial refueling, the process of passing fuel from one airplane to another in the air, is a crucial part of American military strategy, a low-profile task that makes many of the flashier components possible. Everything from the high-tech fifth-generation jet fighters like the F-35 to bulky troop-transporting cargo planes depends on being able to stay aloft during refueling, particularly in the expansive Pacific theater, where the U.S. increasingly treats China as its peer adversary and the distances between runways are daunting. The Stratotanker carrying Hoffert was built in 1963, about average vintage for the nearly 400 KC-135 still in operation. But a new tanker the military has spent years trying to bring online as a replacement, the KC-46 Pegasus, is saddled with problems and delays, so much so that until last fall it was barred from flying combat missions. According to a 2022 report from the Government Accountability Office, the Pegasus program won't hit full-rate production until September 2024 and is projected to be around $1 billion over budget. The air refueling fleet is the backbone of rapid global mobility, said General Jacqueline Van O. Vost, commander of the U.S. Transportation Command, at a House Armed Services Committee meeting in March. And is our most stressed capability. Hoffert, 19, a recent West Valley High School graduate from Fairbanks and crewman in the Alaska National Guard, is an essential part of that capability. Pretty close, he said into the mic on his headset as the boom found its receiver slot. For around 7 minutes, the two planes moved in tandem just 30 or so feet from each other, nothing but subtle flexes and shudders disrupting their syncopation, close enough for Hoffert to see the pilot's goggles and almost read his name tag. The demand for air refueling is insatiable. Because of Alaska's position at the intersection of several important air routes and relative proximity to most of the industrialized world, the Defense Department bases more than 100 fifth-generation jet fighters in the state, split between Eielson Air Force Base near Fairbanks and Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage. Almost any time fighters roar off into the sky, whether it's for routine training, a large-scale military exercise or intercepting Russian military aircraft as they approach U.S. airspace off Alaska's coast, a fuel tanker is accompanying them. That is partially out of necessity, because the state is so big. Literally, we cannot defend Alaska without aerial refueling, said Colonel Mike Griesbaum, who commands the Alaska Air National Guard's 168th Wing. The demand for air refueling is insatiable. The Alaska National Guard, not the active duty military, is in charge of aerial refueling, an arrangement not unique to the 49th state. The refueling crew's mission on this Thursday morning was to fly 155,000 pounds of fuel from Jabir to an aerial training area north of Gakona, where several F-35s and F-22s were airborne. "We are just their orbiting gas station," joked Major Mike Strickler of the 168th Wing, the pilot for that day's operation. Fighter jets need to have enough fuel on board to make it back home safely, which limits how far pilots can fly without refueling. Dependability is paramount, because if a refueling craft is grounded or can't pass off fuel, the fighter mission generally has to be called off. "The only thing I care about is whether or not it's there," Major Steele Boyer, an F-22 pilot with the Air Force Reserve's 302nd Fighter Squadron, said of the refueling tankers. "I need reliability, it's probably the most important thing to me. Especially," he said, in Indo-PACOM, military speak for the Indo-Pacific region where U.S. military doctrine is built around what is frequently referred to as the tyranny of distance.